In this episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief, I do none other than Game All Night with Chris Whitpan from, that's right, Game All Night, the YouTube channel. I hope you'll check out his channel, and I hope you'll stick around until after Kickstarter Corner, in which we're bringing you a couple of great games that are currently on the Kickstarter or game projects, so you can hear me and Chris game all night. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is proudly being powered by The Language of Magic, which is a deck-building card game for 1 to 4 players inspired by the works of Richard Garriott. At the time of recording, there's 48 hours to go, and they're less than $500 away from their funding goal, so let's go ahead and show them a little bit of love. As I've said before, I love the box that this game comes in, and it'd be great to see this become a reality. So if you like deck builders, or you want to see a great game come to life, make sure you check out The Language of Magic, the deck building game that's on Kickstarter through this Sunday, the 4th of November. Definitely check that out. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is also proudly being powered by Table Breakers, those super heavy solid metal poly dice that I've been talking about for a while that are dangerously hefty. The classic metal poly dice set with a touch of luxury. They're bigger, heavier, and dangerous. Plus, you'll get Christmas delivery, so they make great gifts. You have 4 days to go as this project goes through this next Tuesday, the 6th of November, so definitely check out Table Breakers Super Heavy Solid Metal Poly Dice Set. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is also proudly being powered by Cartel. It's a tabletop card game where opponents compete to earn the most cryptocurrency on the black market. They reached their funding goal quite a while ago, and there's still 10 days to go for you to get in on the magic of this one through the 12th of November. I definitely recommend you watch the video that Andy created on his Kickstarter page. It was awesome. He actually studied film, and this video is great, so check that out. And then if you like what you see or hear, definitely go and check out Cartel on the Kickstarters.
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Take your coat off, stay a while. Welcome to Getting Geeky with Game Life. Go ahead and make yourself comfortable as we get into these great games that are on Kickstarter for a little while longer, and then settle back in your chair as we game all night with Chris Whitpan from Game All Night, which is a YouTube channel like a David Letterman or a Jay Leno type show with none other than those in the board game industry. I hope you'll enjoy the show.
What is this place? What is it doing here in the Leaves computer? Oh, it's Kickstarter Corner with the Leaves.
Coming to us from Mighty Board is Petrichor, the Honeybee expansion and reprint. It's a sweet buzzing expansion to Petrichor and a reprint of the base game. This project from Mighty Boards funded in 8 hours, and at the time of recording you have 13 more hours to go to back this great project as it ends today at 12:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So definitely check out Mighty Boards, Petrichor, Honeybee expansion, and reprint on Kickstarter for a short time. And then if you need coins instead of those silver star stickers or those superstar stickers that you want to give somebody when they win a game night, you'll definitely want to check out Congratulations Coin and Attaboy Coin. Help them mint these high quality appreciation coins. This will be on Kickstarter for 5 more days as the project ends on Wednesday the 7th of November, so check out Congratulations Coin and Attaboy Coin. Also, if you like role-playing games and you want a new one with superheroes, you'll probably want to check out Hearts and Souls, the second edition tabletop role-playing game by Tim. Hearts and Souls second edition is a role-playing game of superheroic drama, action, and adventure. There's currently 77 backers and 7 days to go. We need to get quite a few more backers to make Hearts and Souls a reality. So what do you say? Let's go ahead and show the creator a little bit of love. If you like what you see or hear, definitely go check it out. It's quite a comic book style of their Kickstarter page. It looks like a fun game, so definitely go check out Hearts and Souls second edition tabletop role-playing game. I know Halloween's over, but Rabble Games Studios still wants to see you get ready for next year, and I guess from according to my kids, it's the Day of the Dead or something, so you might want to check out Dead Sprint the game. It's a board game for 2 to 5 players that need to outrun a horde of the undead. Try to stay ahead on your turn before the horde takes theirs. You have to be faster than your friends. There's less than 2 weeks to go to make this project a reality, so 13 days to go. This project ends on Thursday the 15th of November, so check out Dead Sprint the game. Last but not least on this week's, the last episode of this week's Kickstarter Corner, or Getting Geeky with Game Relief, is Circuit Breaker board game. It's a puzzle game of quirky competition and crafty rodents, in which you're trying to set up your wiring of your home before the party that you're setting up for your housewarming party. Do it before your friends and try to sabotage them in Circuit Breaker board game. That's on Kickstarter for less than 2 weeks now, going through Thursday the 15th of November, coming to you from Freshwater Games, so check out Circuit Breaker board game. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to game all night. So let's join Game Relief and Chris Whitpan as they proceed with their interview that's already in progress. Take it away, Getting Geeky with Game Relief.
Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Welcome to Getting Geeky with Game Relief. We're usually joined by designers of games, especially those on Kickstarters. Every once in a while we'll have content creators or whatnot, and we've had a few of those on reviewers and YouTubers and different things like that. Tonight we have a special treat for you, not necessarily a review channel on YouTube, but something completely different. Tonight we're joined by Chris Whitpan from Game All Night. Did I pronounce that right, Chris?
Everything sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. We really appreciate it, Chris.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, I hope we don't disappoint for sure then. Okay, well, before we get into what Game All Night is, in case somebody hasn't heard about it, I don't know why they wouldn't have, but before we get into that, let's rewind a little bit. How did you get into playing tabletop board games in the tabletop industry?
So I've been one of those people who played my whole life. I was buying like war games, D&D and stuff when I was a kid back in the 80s, and kind of fell by the wayside later in life. And then I was like the guy who always had party games. And I didn't really discover modern board games until Will Wheaton's Tabletop came on. And then like I caught that on episode 3 or 4, and I just was immediately hooked and flabbergasted at what games were doing nowadays. And then it has just been a long, slippery slope of going to game stores, finding meetups, playing games online, and just absorbing every kind of material I can. It's pretty much got me where I am about 6 or 7 years later now.
So a little bit longer than me. I think I jumped in, I keep forgetting, it keeps running together, but 2 or 3 years back for a holiday season. Well, my wife was kind of getting into the whole Kickstarter craze and whatnot, and different games here and there. We'd play a few games casually, and then a couple years back ago during the holiday season, me and my son that's 10 currently, or just turned 10, we sat down to play Blood Rage because I watched a Rodney Smith video on how to play, and it was like Christmas after playing that game. So it was like, I might as well get into this. And then it's like you said, it's been a slippery slope ever since.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I just talked to Ella from Ella Loves Board Games, who's barely been doing this like 18 months. And man, it just reminds me how hard and fast you fall when you get into this sometimes. It's just, there's so much to absorb.
Yes, for sure there is. So currently, what are you absorbing these days, or what's your current favorite game?
Favorites are really hard. I am such an omni gamer. I play everything from party games when my friends come over to gateway games to, I love 18xx. That's what I'll make time in my calendar to play some 18xx games for sure. But I definitely like bigger, heavier stuff. Marco Polo always gets played. My wife and I play that a lot. A lot of things with dice. We just picked up Coimbra and I'm enjoying that. So right now, I'd say dice as workers is really big in my house.
Oh, okay, awesome. Now, you said it was called Coimbra?
Yeah. Just like literally got released like 3 days ago from Plan B and Eggert Spiel.
Yeah, I want to say I heard somebody talking about it on a podcast. I don't recall which one or whatnot. So maybe somebody else is kind of living under a rock like myself, or they haven't played it yet. What can you tell us about this game, Chris?
It's made by the designers who did Lorenzo Il Magnifico. So it has that same kind of vibe where, you're trying to use your dice to make things happen, but they're your actual selection mechanism more so than it was in Lorenzo. And you're just trying to gather influence in 4 different areas to go up on 4 different tracks. Lots of levers and buttons to pull and trigger some end game scoring cards. So a lot of randomness, which I like. I think that there's lots of input randomness and goal randomness and cards that come out. So I found it rather enjoyable. I've only done like 2 plays on it. So jury's out on whether I like it more than other things.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. So that's good. Now, speaking of time, like you said, you don't get much time or whatnot. You recently created, maybe not recent anymore, but I didn't stumble on it like you talked about stumbling onto Will Wheaton's thing, episode 2 or 3. I stumbled onto your Game All Night. I want to say episode 5, or maybe it was a little bit before that when Alan Girding had you on his show. I think you were on there, weren't you?
Yeah, Alan was on, I believe, episode 6, and he was the first person I ever interviewed like out of the dark. Like I know what 2 Rooms and a Boom was, but I definitely didn't know Alan from anybody. And he's quickly become one of my favorite people in the industry. He was just gracious and awesome. And when we were going to record, he's like, "Hey, let's do my show real quick before you hop on yours." And so we did. We just recorded that one too. So it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's how I heard about you on his show. And I want to say he did I forget what the skit's called, but possibly the whole walking up and down the stairs or something behind his couch or something on your show, maybe.
Yeah. He did the escalator trick because he actually was standing. He's the only person so far who's done that, where he has a standing desk, and he did his whole show from behind a desk. And for those of you, obviously this is a podcast, so people don't see, but the show's basically a late night show, and I have the guests on a TV on the set. So you're actually able to see the guests the whole time. So it was definitely interesting watching him he's as bouncy and movie as he is when he's talking on the radio. He's just moving around all the time and bouncing around when you're watching him on the show as well.
Yeah, it gets kind of exciting. And speaking of other firsts, I don't know if this was one, but because I haven't watched all the episodes that I would like to, but you recently as well had somebody actually in the studio. Is that right?
I did. I've had 2 now, but I haven't set the other one out to be recorded because we're doing another segment. So it only took 5 months for us to get around to filming the second half. But Matt Morgan, who runs PAX Unplugged's tabletop areas, was in, and we actually had a nice long chat. He sat on the sofa. It was great. I love having an in-person guest. It has a different dynamic for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And was he having apple juice? Because I worried because he talked about driving in and then you guys were drinking something.
Yeah, well, we had some drinks, but he also hung out for quite a while before he left. So we made sure he was good.
Okay, good. I made sure I posted something on YouTube on your comments to make sure he got home safe or whatnot.
Oh, he did. He did.
Okay, well, that's good. Now, for people, I know you talked briefly about it, but somebody hasn't heard of Game All Night or whatnot. What can you tell us about Game All Night? What is it all about, Chris?
So the conceit behind Game All Night is I wanted to do an interview talk show that could be for people who are trying to, learn more about people in the hobby. And I wanted it to be, something I could watch with my non-gamer friends or wife at the time so that they could kind of see a little peek in the industry and share something together, right? Because a lot of times when we game or we have, spouses that might not game with us, this kind of might be a bridge. So that was the original conceit. And what ended up happening is, I built a late night talk show set in my basement, and I have guests who Skype in via my TV, and they're up on the TV just like a normal guest would be. And I even have a couch in studio to kind of give us that, late night talk show feel. And I try to take a longer form of interview because we usually take a good, 45-minute interview process. And then we play a game together, and that's really it. And I also do it as a podcast, but I think we strive for the visual, and that's our first worry is to make sure everything's pretty. And I want it to look good, and I want it to quality is important to me.
Yeah, well, I'd say quality, that's awesome on there. And I was going to bring that up as a suggestion, but then I was perusing on my phone because I wanted to do something else while I was trying to get my son to sleep. And I was going to bring up the idea to get it on the podcast, but then I noticed that there's already a podcast there as well. So if somebody can't watch the shows or whatnot, you do have that there as well. So that's great.
Yeah, exactly. I hadn't originally intended to do that when we launched, but honestly, since so much work is done ahead of time, it's just as easy to pull the audio out, clean it up, and then, distribute it as a podcast. And if it's something doesn't make sense, with a visual medium, then we'll cut that out. So you might not get everything, but you'll at least get the interview, you'll get the guest, and you'll get the important stuff.
Oh, okay, awesome. And you talked about an interview and then a game. I remember seeing I think your first episode, I watched it twice or whatnot, where Gary had sent both of you things and you had to try to guess what they were or try to get the other person not to guess what they were. What other games have you played on there? How's that look?
Well, what's interesting is we haven't duplicated a game yet in 30 odd episodes. I mean, we've done different takes on games, but the core games themselves, we really try to make it special to the guest. One of the most fun episodes I had was with TC Petty. We played it's a prototype of a game called Medium that'll be coming out soon. And it was a lot of fun to play it and play it over the air. It's kind of hard to get a game that you can play with two people that aren't in studio. Luckily, I have a bartender, Dan, who's in studio character who can help facilitate the games and play judge. We just recorded last night. Is it a Pokemon or is it a Dungeons and Dragons monster was the game we played the other night. We've had to do design pitches. We've played Fun Employment with Bruce Vogue was hysterical. I cried when we did that one. I almost fell out of my chair. So we definitely, try to make it unique, fit the guest, and have some fun.
Oh, wow. And are you doing this full time?
Oh, no. I do this all in my spare time, believe it or not.
How do you find the time?
It's hard. Don't get me wrong. I have to make sure I stay a few episodes ahead just so that I can give myself some flexibility. Try to make sure my editing is clean. I try to do all the editing as I go. Like I'm doing it in camera and as we go so that really all I have to do is final assembly when it comes time to put it all together for the YouTubes. So I just try and do that, scheduling people. Usually my Thursday nights, I'm working on the show, editing the show, or, having someone call in.
Oh, well, and I want to say it comes out every Thursday night. Is that right? I think I heard that on a podcast recently.
Yep, I do Thursday night at 10 p.m. It's a late night show, so it's got to release in the middle of the night. So and that's Eastern time. So, man, you guys on the East Coast get it easy. You get it like 7.
Yeah, Pacific, yeah. So yeah, that's pretty good, pretty early. So that's awesome. Now, yeah. So this is different than anything else I've seen on YouTube, and there's a bunch of different content creators on YouTube and whatnot for when it comes to games. What makes yours pop compared to all those other content creators on YouTube, especially?
So the thing is that I knew. So it's the old theory, right? Either when you come into a space, you either have to do something better than everybody else has done it, or you need to do something completely different. I tried doing a little review show and I was going to mix in some beer things with it. But to be honest with you, we did 2 episodes and I'm like, this is just sounds like what everybody else sounds like. So we canned that. And that was about 2, 3 years ago. And I've been searching ever since for like, I want to contribute something to the community as a whole. That was always a goal. And I'm like, well, what can I bring? I'm not going to sit there and be a rado and do run throughs. I'm not going to do reviews of games because frankly, I'm definitely on record as hating the concept and the conceit of reviews and the fact that you have to play a game so many times. It dictates what you can play in your game group, and just how much and how easy it is to get burned out on that. And I know that was not for me and my lifestyle and my game groups. That just would not fly. So I finally stumbled upon this idea after PAX last year. I'm like, well, what if we did something that's like Space Ghost and it's like a late night talk show? And I drew inspiration from Saturday Night Live, from, Jimmy Fallon, from a show called Up All Night with Alan Havey from way back when, and some Space Ghost with the TV and how that plays out. And the snarky sidekicks, like that was always kind of the vision. It was like almost right off the bat, the product you see today is kind of the brainchild it was, with a few segments that have kind of come and gone over the time. But I think we're finally hitting our stride with what the show should be, and that is, the premier late night board game talk show is the goal.
Yeah, I like it. It's pretty awesome. The couple episodes that I've watched, and now that it's going to be even better for me now that I can catch it on podcast while I'm doing something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So that's awesome. Now, are you ever going to paint those meeples that are in your background, or are they always going to stay the brown color?
Well, I stained those, so they kind of are painted. So yeah, I had Broken Token. I had them laser cut me an undisclosed amount because I'm probably going to run a contest about that in the future. But I stained them and I stained the wall because I really wanted the warm tones of the wood to kind of echo throughout the set. Like a lot of sets are cold and, hard and brick or, no, I wanted something kind of warm and inviting. And, that's really what I was shooting for. So no, that's probably not going to change anytime soon.
Well, there you go. And like you talked about with the everybody's being similar or whatnot, all the other ones, the board game shows I see, usually they have a bunch of just like I don't know if there's their shelf of shame or games they've recently reviewed. They have a bunch of board games behind them.
Yeah, and you will never see that. To the point, even when I've done some of the other events that shine on my gaming table, you'll see a little bit if you look, but there's a shelf behind my table that I have all my just odds and ends, crafts and things that evolve around gaming. But there's some games underneath there, but I don't even shoot near my game room. So you probably won't really see any kind of those shots on my show just because, again, everybody else does it. I need something different.
Well, there you go. And how do you go about getting guests on Game All Night?
I'm really annoying is what it is. I reach out. Like a lot of the people, especially the first people were people I met at Gen Con. I met them at PAX U, and that's really about it. The Secret Cabal guys are local, but I haven't even had them on the show yet. Literally, like that's going to be coming in the next couple weeks. But a lot of it is just kind of reaching out to people who I've seen briefly or I met online, and just trying to reach out and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'd love to have an interview, and it's not going to just be about your games. I want it to be about you, your life, and things like that. And occasionally people say no, it happens.
Well, they must be crazy, or what do you think?
Well, you know what? It's still so new, right? I'm like, I literally just posted episode 30 this week. And when you think about it, that's not a lot. I mean, how many you have an ungodly amount at this point of episodes. You have a lot of recordings. So you are definitely prolific. Whereas, mine's a little more long form, a little more slow paced. I might even slow it down in the future. Because so many people are complaining that they can't keep up because it's too much. So might want to slow it down.
But yeah, there's quite a bit on there. But yeah, and thanks. Yeah, we kind of just went with it. I started interviewing people last summer when I went a little bit too hog wild, and I think I had an interview every day for like 1 or 2 months or whatnot. And
Right. And how did you get your interviews? Because you had a ton.
yeah, pretty much. I just but mainly I just, as soon as the Kickstarters go up, I go ahead and start contacting people. I'm trying to get people before their Kickstarter to go live or whatnot, but usually that's what ends up happening. Just reaching out to people, like you said.
Right. And it's amazing. The business is really good. The reason people turn it down is usually I have two reasons typically. Number one is that they're too shy. They don't want to be on video. Some people don't even want to be on a podcast, which is frustrating because the people who've been that way have also been ladies. Because I want to be diverse and I want to have a wide selection of guests for everybody. And I don't want to just interview people like me, right? So it's like, I really want this person. I think they'd be awesome, but they're just not comfortable, and I can't force them to be, right? There's that. And then the other one's usually some people just don't want to make their lives that public. They're like, no, I really don't want to talk about anything but games. And I'm like, well, that's not really what we do.
Yeah, for sure. What do you do about the people that aren't necessarily shy, but maybe don't feel they would do justice to come on your show? I know I fall into that category, I think.
Well, the onus is on me as the host to make my guests comfortable. And I think you really need to, I think we need to have a rapport before the person comes on the show, whether it can be Twitter rapport, right? Or question rapport, but just getting a feel of how conversation flows between you and the other person before they show up, I think is key. I think it really helps. And then, get to the meat. And when you ask people about what is interesting to them, they really kind of open up and blossom a bit. And, I've said before on other podcasts that the art of interviewing, I've been doing it for years, like as a manager of restaurants and things. And I've been interviewing shy kids and things like that. And, people are scared to death of me because I'm like 6'5". I'm a giant, compared to a lot of people. So they automatically are like shields up. And it's important to get through that. And I think, you get through that with some comedy, with comfort, with, laying out the program and talking about them and what interests them, I think is the best way to kind of get that comfort level. And you can watch it sometimes on the show, even when they come on you'll see people a little scared and holding back initially.
Yeah, I think I heard you talking about it on a new podcast. Well, I don't know how new it is, but Board Games Outsider recently, where you talked about the interviews, I think.
Yeah, it's hard, but I'm getting better at it. And I think I'm able to recognize things a lot more as we go on.
Yeah, I think you do a good job. And you talked about, it sounds like it's pretty intuitive, or maybe a lot of work that you put into them. Like you give a questionnaire and stuff to your people, and you go in and watch their shows. I know you, even before you came on our show, it sounds like you might have went and tried to listen to a couple of the episodes and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would hope that somebody would do the same thing coming on my show, right? It's important for them to understand what they're getting into, because if they're coming on to pitch their latest Kickstarter and that's really not my bag, and this isn't going to release for 5 weeks, well, that's not going to help you. So don't say yes if that's the case. But I'm also not asking that person unless they're interesting and they have a huge amount of life going on. That's what I want to talk about. The Kickstarter would be secondary, but I really want to talk about your life, your journey, where you're at, how you balance what you do, things like that.
There you go, for sure. And a little bit ago, you talked about the secret cabal guys are kind of in your local area. So is that Jamie as well as is that Marty Connell? Is Marty Connell part of part of the secret cabal still, or I know he's been on there sometimes?
No, he invades them every now and then, but he really just does his rolling dice and taking names. But he's out of the South, so he's like North Carolina area. So we don't really get to see him except for shows. But I know he gets along really well with the guys from the Cabal that are still around here. But mainly it's Chris, Steve, and Jamie are the local guys, and everybody else kind of Skypes in on the core show anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, if you can ever, if you ever take suggestions, I'd love to have you and Marty sit down and talk all about lawnmowers.
Yeah, we need to. Because I got a big old tractor I drive around my acre every now and then, so I need to get in on that tractor action there.
There you go. Yeah, that always amuses me when they start talking about lawnmowers on their rolling dice and taking names.
It's definitely entertaining. I love those Southern guys.
It's on upcoming episodes that might be, I don't know when this will go live, but any upcoming episodes you already have planned?
So, well, I have a couple interesting ones. Like I mentioned, I had Chris Miller on the show, and he kind of does an off and on YouTube thing when he's not with the Cabal, where he does Chris Cooks. And so I actually interviewed him here at the house, and then we went up and I actually filmed. Nobody knows this. I'm not going to tell anybody until it happens, but we actually filmed a cooking segment that I have to edit together. And that's going to be, instead of playing a game with Chris, we went and did a cooking show, which was pretty cool. That was a lot of fun. Eric Summer signed on for this week. I'm going to do a recording, so you'll probably hear from him within the month. And Ella from Ella Loves Board Games. We talked to her just the other night, which was pretty great. She phoned in from Australia. So you think you and I had a hard time getting time zones straight. I'm staying up at 11 o'clock at night and she's eating breakfast and drinking coffee.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I've had a couple of those where I'm trying to get people from the UK or different places. Australia, yeah, I've had that too.
Yeah, it's it's funny. It's a tricky thing to get people. Paul Grogan and I kind of missed each other the last time he was supposed to be on because the timing, didn't work out. And I'm like, now I need to get back and get him on the show as well. But it's tricky when you're dealing with those 6 hour, 7 hour delays. I imagine that one's worse for you.
Yeah, and especially you guys tend to believe in something that we don't believe in, is that whole time zone change.
Yeah, I kind of wish we didn't. It's annoying.
Yeah, so that'll get a little bit easier when the time changes for you guys, because then it'll be closer, be closer in time to you guys, because we don't believe in that. So we kind of share 2 time zones with the different places.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember traveling back in time when I was jumping over the line on the Hoover Dam.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So there you go. So that's pretty cool. Now, I know you said you listened to a couple of shows before of ours, so maybe you're prepared, maybe you're not. But the next portion of our show is called Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an app, be it for your cell phone, your tablet, your computer, or even a video game. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be related to board games or gaming all night for this matter. Is there an app you use a lot of that we can talk about for a moment, Chris?
It's funny. I really don't. The ones that I seem to find all my time on it's going to be the Twitter, the Facebook. Slack is new. But the one that I use a ton of is the Google Task, just because that keeps me, that's what keeps me on track, is I can just tell my calendar to do something. It pops up in Google Task and it's just quick and easy to go. I don't use my device for gaming or anything, just because I already use it enough. I don't need to add something else to it as well. But that tends to be the thing I use a lot these days.
Okay, so Google Tasks, and I imagine that's a free app, I would guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So if you were to do one thing to make that app, Google Tasks, better, or if you were to do one thing to make it better, what would that be?
Honestly, it would probably be more integration with the assistant, and then also to be able to control multiple listings, because it really only controls one list, but it would be nice to, have a shopping list, have a to-do list, have game all night list, and things like that it would automatically sync to. That's probably the single biggest thing.
Okay, and we try to make a green podcast around here, so if anybody that deals with updates or anything over there at Google with Google Tasks is ever listening, you heard it here first on, or unless you said it somewhere else, you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, what Chris from Game All Night would do to make Google Tasks a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Now, minus coming there to over to the East Coast to stalk you in person, how would people go about keeping up with you and what you have going on, Chris?
So the easiest thing to do is obviously subscribe to us on YouTube. One of the things is that I do spell everything the same, but it's a little different, right? So it's like youtube.com/ and it's Game All Night, NITE show. And that's where you can find all of our playlists, all of our videos and everything. Me personally, I run our, Game All Night Twitter. That's probably where I'm most active and interactive with, the audience and things aside from comments on YouTube. A little bit on Facebook and a little bit in the Board Game Geek Guild. I'm just C Whitpan, WHITPAN on Board Game Geek. But I'm not anything special. I don't ever look at the top to see if I'm Geek of the Week, because I'm not Geek of the Week material. I don't contribute that much.
Oh boy. Well, I enjoy your stuff. I was kind of intimidated when you said, "Yeah, I'll come on." I was hoping I wouldn't. Even though I never really played any of his games, I kind of, I think I fell apart and was kind of like a fanboy when I had Michael Coe of Gamelin Games on.
Oh, cool.
But I felt like I was a fanboy when I was worried I was going to do the same thing with you, but I think I did okay.
No, you did great. It's all about just we're all people, right? And the board game industry is one of the best industries for that, because I don't really run into too many people who feel they're better than anybody else. Like I said, if anything, there's a lot of shy people, a lot of quiet people, and maybe some busy people, but there's usually not any mean people, right?
For sure, yeah. That's what it seems like. And we don't want to keep you all night, especially since you'll be gaming all night. We really wanted to thank you for coming on Getting Geeky with Game Relief to talk all about Game All Night with us tonight, Chris.
Oh, no, this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you having me on. I had a blast.
Yeah, no problem, for sure. Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Chris. I always like to game all night, and I really enjoy his channel. So I hope you'll go check out his YouTube channel, and if you liked any of those Kickstarters from Kickstarter Corner, definitely go check them out and back them, show a little bit of support. Do you want to see about getting your game featured on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, or would you like an interview, or do you know about other upcoming games from your friends or anybody? Make sure you reach out to us, or have them reach out to us via Getting Geeky with Game Relief on Facebook through Messenger, or at GameRelief@GameReliefGo.com. We'd love to hear about new games that are coming to the Kickstarters. Anyways, our least favorite time, your least favorite time for us to get on with our lives, you to get on with yours. In the meantime, I hope you'll get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others into Geekfold. Game Relief out.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.